So I've talked a lot about Lynda Applegate, and let me tell you why. If Michael Porter were here, he would say, Lynda Applegate has been involved with ICIC and me since the beginning. Lynda Applegate, and she'll probably tell us a little bit of her background, Lynda Applegate has been a professor at the Harvard Business School for just shy of 40 years. One of the very first women to be on the faculty of Harvard Business School. She has distinguished herself in a variety of ways, not only as a faculty member at the Harvard Business School, but also recently times as a member of the board of directors of ICIC. She helped us with a strategic refresh last year and the year before, got our management team together, got our board together, and thought about new strategies for new growth opportunities, and she led a dynamic process, as she has done for many, many years as the leader of an executive education program that is Harvard Business School's premier executive education program. There are so many ways in which we could express our appreciation. Many of you who have been to previous conferences have heard Lynda teach cases, because she's been teaching cases way before I became CEO of ICIC. I'll never forget her most memorable case that she taught. She quoted Henry Ford, who was talking about people who resist change. Henry Ford once said, let me get this right, if I asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Lynda is an innovator par excellence. She's a teacher of innovation. She has electrified audiences for many, many, many years. She has been a critical member of our board of directors. We could not have developed the manufacturing program without Lynda Applegate. Please welcome Lynda Applegate to the stage as we recognize her and present Lynda with a Lifetime Achievement and Leadership Award. Lynda Applegate, please come to the stage. And by the way, I asked Lynda just a few minutes ago, how's your mother? She said, my mother's fine, doing fine. Her mother will turn 104 in June. She asked how my mother was. I said I had lunch with her on Monday. My mother turned 103 on March 1st. We both hope we have our mother's genes. I'm going to take my notebook away.
Okay. Don't take my papers away.
I will not take your papers away. Lynda Applegate, you have the audience, and thank you for a lifetime of leadership in business at the Harvard Business School and for ICIC. Thank you.
Steve, thank you for this very special honor. I really do. So I can't thank Steve enough, and for the whole ICIC leadership team for this very special honor. It means the world to me. I also want to thank all of you for all you've done over these years to support under-resourced communities since ICIC's founding in 1994 by my HBS faculty, colleague, and my friend, Michael Porter. Like all of you, I am also an entrepreneur at heart. But while growing up, I was really just a street fighter in Detroit. More on this in a minute. Finally, I want to thank my husband, Paul McDonald, who is taking pictures, and the people here that are supposed to be taking pictures wanted to know if he was trying to take over their job. He convinced me to give HBS a try when I was recruited to join the faculty in the mid-'80s. Most people don't know, I actually said no to Harvard Business School 3 times when they recruited me. Finally, my husband said, well, why don't we just give it a try? If you don't like it, we could always return to Seattle. So I gave it a try, and I guess I must have liked it because I've been there ever since. I first met Michael Porter when we taught together at HBS in the mid to late 1980s. It was shortly after he was publishing his landmark book on competitive strategy. I remember discussions with Michael during those early days about his interest in providing more support, not just to the big companies that HBS was focused on at the time, but to underserved communities. We continued to talk during ICIC's early days, and ICI has always had a very special place in my heart. During our early conversations, I also told Michael about my background, which was not typical for Harvard faculty when I first joined, as you'll hear. Not only was I one of the very first women on the HBS faculty at the time, Steve, like you mentioned, but my PhD wasn't in business itself. I got my PhD from a new graduate program that was being launched at the University of Arizona in the early 1980s in decision analytics and information technology. I helped them put together the PhD program and some of the decision support labs we were using to test it. When I got to HBS, one of my students first asked me, "What's it like being one of the only women professors at HBS?" And I said, "I didn't realize I was." And that's true, okay? I was born in the 1940s. Don't do the math. Late 1940s, okay? I grew up in Detroit during the 50s and 60s. And during that time, I played ice hockey with the guys, okay? Now, back then, we didn't have lanes for women and men back then. So I grew up what we called back then a tomboy. I was one of the only women still playing ice hockey with the guys when I was in high school. When I got too small to body check, they put me in goal because nothing got by me in goal, okay? So let me tell you a little bit more about what I expected to do when I was getting started in my entrepreneurial career. Growing up, my dad worked at Ford Motor Company in the Dearborn assembly plant. My mom was the oldest of 12 from a family that was on would have been welfare back then, okay? She had to quit school at 16 to support her family, so she never even graduated from high school. While growing up, my mom drilled into her daughters' heads, "You're going to get married and have kids, but be a nurse or a teacher, so if you marry a scumbag, you can leave him." True story. That was all I expected to do, okay, when I was growing up. So after graduating from high school, I lived at home, worked at the Ford Rouge plant to put myself through college to become a nurse, and my first job as a nurse was working in the ER in Detroit shortly after the 1967 riots. Okay, as I said, this is not your typical Harvard pedigree, right? I left that job when I was taking care of a patient with a gunshot wound, true story, and the mafia hitmen who had shot him came blazing into the emergency room with guns drawn and shot and killed him while I was taking care of him on the table. Okay? What do you do? Here, you want me to hold him for you? No, I jumped under the table. After that, I decided to move out of Detroit. And I moved to Ann Arbor and eventually became the head of the University of Michigan ER and ambulatory care programs. From there, I eventually moved to Seattle in the mid-1970s, and I met and married my husband in the early 1980s. My husband, in addition to encouraging me to go to HBS, was also the one who convinced me to get a PhD at University of Arizona and introduced me to the professor who was launching the MIS program. So I've got a lot to thank from my husband. So given my entrepreneurial career, It shouldn't be surprised that in 1994, when Michael was launching ICIC, I helped launch the Entrepreneurial Management Unit at HBS and then was faculty chair for many years as I launched and led all of our executive programs for business owners and entrepreneurs. And guess what? Michael taught in those programs too. So let me close with some of what I learned during this entrepreneurial career and journey. As you heard during the fireside chat, my first real insight that I've gone as I look back on my journey is building businesses is a team sport, okay? Some of you may have heard me do my little soccer analogy before in one of these programs, okay? I learned about soccer and team sports while my husband and I were transitioning from coaching our son's 5-year-old soccer team to attending his soccer games while he played on the Olympic Development Program in high school. He then continued playing soccer in college, and for 1 year played as a backup goalkeeper for the Seattle Sounders before attending medical school. He's now an orthopedic surgeon since he spent so much time with orthopedic surgeons over the years. My husband and I never missed a game because when you have tenure at Harvard and you're running all the programs you teach, you can do anything you want. One of the things I love so much about working with ICIC and with entrepreneurs and business owners is you really get the concept and importance of teamwork, because being an entrepreneur is personal. Second, straight paths are boring. If all you're doing is looking down at where you're going now, and not picking your head up and just kind of moving forward, you're missing opportunities. Pick your head up, look down your field of play, and identify what's changing, not what's staying the same. If all you're looking at is what's staying the same, you're not learning. Be ready to pivot based on what you see and what you learn. And finally, number 3, as you consider these transitions, look back and identify what you love doing and what you do that you don't love but you're good at. When my son was born, I got rid of all the things that I didn't love doing but I was good at, and everybody gave me all these good vibes for. And I concentrated on what I loved. There's 3 things that were really things I loved. First, using deep analytics to identify and solve problems. When there's a problem out there, I learned it in the ER, and it was the same in business with business owners and entrepreneurs and all of you. If there's a problem out there, how do you look down that field and try to identify what those problems are, and more importantly, learn how to use analytics to figure out how to solve that problem. What are some of the things I can do to identify and really define the problem, and then to solve it? Second, I love working with entrepreneurs and business owners, and I've been doing it for, about 30 years now, because you care deeply about your business and your communities. You're not just working for someone else, it's personal. So, thank you for this honor and for letting me be part of your life journeys for so many years. I really do appreciate ICIC, love what you do, and want to be doing it with you for many, many years to come. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to all of you.
Hey, keep dancing.
Well, Lynda, you honor us by your presence, you honor us by your leadership, you honor us by the way you have innovated and how you have taught so many of us. My father was the smartest man I ever knew. My father once said, Steve, you were born with one mouth and two ears. Try to use them in that proportion. Be a better listener than talker. Whenever I've listened to Lynda Applegate, I've learned something. I'm a better person for it, I'm a better leader for it, I'm a better business person for it, and I suspect everyone in this room is the better for having listened to Lynda's extraordinarily vibrant and relevant remarks. Lynda Applegate, thank you.